Well, here we are once again. I wanted to use a little bit of a thing, a little reference from Star Trek in this particular case. Is the peacekeepers? Well, they're not that strong, and to quote the slightly underbuilt, under-realized alien species from Star Trek, species 8472. The weak will perish, and that's exactly what's going to happen right here. Let's use our probe team here, because the probe team, it allows you to do a whole bunch of cool stuff, like procure data virus, activate sabotage, drain energy reserves inside drone riots, and engage mind control. Mind control in particular is quite nice. In addition, we can do this in such a way that we can blame other factions for our things. So what we're going to do is right now we're just going to infiltrate data links and try to get a couple levels onto our probe team so we can use them later. Right now they have a truce with Yang. They are democratic. Their plans, their values are survivalist, and they've got no future survival role, which is fine. Interests are exploring and discovery. Agendas, politics, and democratic. The energy reserve is 95. We could probably drain those. And Planetary Council votes 24. Mainly because the Peacekeepers do get a bonus to council votes. Promoted to veteran. Very nice. So we can continue using that rather effectively in order to get more strength out of it. What we're going to do here is we're going to start removing actually a lot of this fungus so we can take down this fungal tower a bit more effectively. Okay, our unit was struck by a tidal wave. Oh no, and it moves about 12 tiles in the other direction, and instantly it finds a Isle of the Deep, which will promptly kill, and it gets hardened status, and we should get 150 credits for that. Very nice. Cool. Forest expands. That's all fine. Okay, Fort Liberty builds a children's creche, which is what we need. We should probably take a look here at planetary data links. Any tech known to 3 others. So basically what that means is whenever another faction, or at least when 3 other factions has a piece of technology that you don't have, you will automatically get it. And considering, like for a university, it's not really the greatest thing, because considering they'll generally be ahead. It's the same thing with the consciousness as well. However, with the Spartans, that's generally not the case. However, I do want to go for Citizen Defense Force in this case, because it's a free base building you can get out of it, and free base buildings are always great to have, because it just means you need to A, build them, and B, they don't cost any upkeep. Let's go to here and start draining their energy reserves. Drain energy reserves. Yeah, like you see here, you can make it look like Yang was responsible, and then they'll have to declare war. But let's make a clean getaway. And he's now been promoted to commando, so we got the best possible unit out of this in terms of our good friends, the probe team. Oh, Impact Rover is commando as well. So I think that is the highest possible tier you can get. I think there's actually one tier higher, but we'll have to take a look at that. Let's await preparations before we invade this town, or let's drain some more energy reserves. Yeah, get 11 more. Oh, and a probe team has been lost. See, it's not always a guarantee that you're gonna get a success on your probe team. There's still a percentage involved there in terms of if you're going to get away or not. We're going to send our foil back to University Base. Looks like we have contacted Zarkov. Let's switch to main screen. Colonel Santiago, I presume. I'm Provost Zarkov from the university at your service. I'm told that you have built yourself a mighty empire here on this rocky planet. Be aware that I plan to pursue pure research unfettered by outside motives and meddling. Ha-ha! Science! That's basically their entire motive. Ha-ha, science. Unethical, etc. I am pleased that you've refrained from interference in my research. Colonel Santiago, you are a most prudent leader, and they want something from me. Impact battery. Wow, you've got impact technology. That is so amazing. Your research facilities are the envy of planet, and no one can surpass your expertise. Or if you're a scientist, I warmly commend you for your tireless pursuit of knowledge. Yes, indeed. Would you like to sign a... okay, he doesn't want to sign a treaty with me because we're way too powerful. Zarkov, he is the science officer for the mission. They also grabbed the colony pod in orbit. I haven't actually read the books in a while, so I can't actually remember what they were doing again on the ship. So my apologies for that one. Commander's Keep, let's build a network node. And Sparta Command is going to activate their scout patrol. And we apparently have captured a mind worm. That is unexpected and kind of dangerous. Kind of unhappy that it went that way. Of course, it's good to get more units, but it doesn't mean that there's a mind worm right next door, which I'm not too happy about. Let's go and attack this base. We should be able to capture it next turn. Oh, there we go. Captured it. Very nice. Let's... we can hurry this, but in all honesty, synthetic garrisons is not that great, so let's go. And once again, formers, recycle tanks. We're starting, like I said before, we're starting to get to the point where formers are getting kind of out of control. We've got way too many of them. Now later on, we're going to use them to plant forests everywhere, but they are not the greatest right now.
Hey, Burp. Sorry.
No, Scout Patrol. Forest expands near Harka Chiron. That's fine. Commander's Keep and Sparta Command as well. Yeah, this is what I meant just now. So we're going to lose that. And we instantly get some damage onto the Mind Worm as well, which is frustrating because, yeah, no, close the channel. You're going to die. You're going to die too. He could use the Impact Rover just to take the base, because considering he's the highest level of veterancy, he gets an extra move, so we can use him to basically move twice and then move in our... Yes, I should be able to move straight in. I cannot. That is a shame. So let's hurry this scout patrol. The one thing I'm kind of worried about is that we don't have any radar range over these 3 tiles of fungus. So we're going to move our unit into here and hold them there for a second. Also, there's the UN Ocean Authority down there, which is kind of annoying, but we can deal with that as things go by. Forest expands. That's fine. Okay, let's move you back into Sparta Command. And you're going to build a forest. Okay, that one is done. That's Scout Patrol in the Health Authority. We're just going to rename this to something good. Leonidas. Just to keep within the theme, of course. And, of course, you're going to be the hot gates. So, just to keep with the theme of the Spartans, so to speak here. You know, like normally I don't really do the whole role-playing shenanigans, but every once in a while it's fun to do. Now what I just did now is I ordered an assault, which means that we have a hasty modifier, which adds a 25% malice to the attack. Now it does mean that we can instantly move our units into here. It only had 1 pop in there, so as soon as we move our units into a 1 pop base, it will automatically remove that 1 pop. If you attack a base and you basically invade it, it will automatically lose 1 pop. Basically collateral damage and all that jazz, which is annoying, but in this case it just wipes out the base. Let's move over towards here. And actually, let's destroy this here... This sensor array, so we can get away from that. You still have the Ocean Authority down here, so what we're going to do is we're just going to hurry these formers. Do we have another one up here somewhere? No, they're all down here. That's a shame. What we're going to do is we're going to raise the terrain around the UN Ocean Authority, and with a bit of luck, they don't have enough resources to build another colony pod. This is like kind of the dumbest thing about this game. The sea colony pod's such a pain in the ass. Let's build a base on a platform in the water, because that makes sense, right? I believe Call to Power 2 had a similar system as well, where you could build bases or cities underwater, and it was pretty late in the game. I only played Call to Power for maybe 200 hours or something like that. I did spend a significant amount of time with it, but I didn't think it was the greatest game in the world. It was fun, don't get me wrong. It was just not all that amazing. Let's destroy the sensor array, and let's... Oh, there's another one on the other side. Okay, that's annoying. Let's move into here. They do have a perimeter defense, And considering we got an elite unit, so it's plus 50% damage modifier, which is good. We can deal with that. I'm not gonna move this impact squad too close to the base just now. No, that's a shame. We want to lose it. Yeah, that's a shame. And we get the cruiser as well as the maritime control center and the naval yard. Okay, so we can start replacing our normal foils with these cruiser designs. We are going to retire this design because I don't never really use the Marines, but we do get the cruisers, which are quite big. Planetary economics, we already talked about this, but chaos weaponry. We can completely bypass a significant chunk of the technology chain by going for string theory and basically being ahead of everybody else. However, neural grafting allows us to get bioengineering, and bioengineering has the most broken technology in the game in it, and that is clean reactor. It is so incredibly broken, it's not even funny. Field modulation, resonance armor, it's okay. Gene splicing gets us research hospitals, which is labs and psyche bonuses, which is kind of nice, and it unlocks 3 nutrients per square. However, what we want to do instead is go for Centauri empathy because of the empath guild, and which I feel is going to be rather important. Let's await preparations here for now. Did I hold that? Yes, I did. So let's move this in here. They should have a stack of units in their base. Not entirely sure if we need to hold you for now. Let's build a condenser on this tile. And let's start increasing the level of terrain over this one so we can get in range of the UN Ocean Authority. So let's wait for one turn here, and let's move you in. What do we got in there? He's just building... I think it's just... Yeah, it is. Okay, so... Boop. Okay, cool. UN headquarters. Excellent. Notice the red tiles and the energy bar here. It's inefficiency, which means this base is losing a lot of energy to inefficiency. We can consider building a couple of buildings or using our social models to increase efficiency. We're already running quite a lot of efficiency through the science policy that we're currently running, which is rather useful, however. Instead, we're going to use something called talents. Now, in the second episode, we talked about getting the Human Genome Project. And then part of the Human Genome Project, you get a free talent at every base, which in this case is a doctor. A doctor generates psyche. Psyche is basically a modifier which makes sure that the local population does not riot, which is exactly what we want. If we're going to add another doctor to this, we instantly get a resource shortfall. So we're going to go and offset that. And it looks like we're going to have some problems here with food generation very soon, which isn't all that great. Let's change that by building, or at least rush building, recycling tanks, as well as a bunch of formers, and we can just set one of our units at this base. Hey, there we go. Our units are starving at UN headquarters, factories abandoned by hungry workers. Let's take a look here. The site recycling tanks are done. One of the pups has died due to the lack of food, so we can just surplus that here. And as it looks like right now, we got 3 of our workers as specialists with 1 drone. However, this means that we are looking rather good, and this base will most likely go into a golden age very shortly because the amount of specialists outstrip the amount of drones, which is exactly what we want. In the meantime, UN Settlement Agency. We really need to rename this. Let's rename this to... let's take a look here. Knossos Maze. There we go. Okay, cool. And in the meantime, let's start distributing our units here over these other bases. As you can see, the model for the bases is still the same as the previous inhabitants. Soon that will change. Here we go. There's the intellectual golden age, as expected. We go to the base, and that will give an additional bonus, which is rather nice. So let's go and take down this mindworm. We didn't capture it, which is And in the meantime, we can move this unit down to this tile over here, where this former is currently building, because as soon as that is done, we can basically just move that unit straight into the UN Ocean Authority. Let's rename this to Lal's Demise. There we go. Man, he must be shitting bricks right now over here in his little base in the middle of the ocean. Lal's Demise. It's probably a good idea what I am going to be doing to him very, very soon. All right, you're healing. That's fine. And all of a sudden, population, wealth, territory, and is all of a sudden all in our hands. We got the biggest population, we got the most wealth, we got the most territory. We don't have the biggest military, and we don't have the highest tech because that is Yang and Morgan. Planetary energy grid. Amazing. Let's go to what we actually get out of this. So stockpile energy plus 25% return over every single instance of stockpile energy. Broken as fuck. Energy bank for free. Increases economy at this base for 50. At every single base. We've got so many bases right now. We're generating so much energy. Normally, this base would only generate 6 in general. Now it creates... no, actually, it should be 9. Math bad. Anyway, it creates 12 now, which is a lot more than it usually does. As you saw there, we had a resource shortfall as well due to a crop failure at Sparta Command. This is a problem. We need to offset this somehow, and we don't really have the resources to do so. We have 4 tiles of hunger. This base is going to hunger for a while, and we can't really do anything about it, which is annoying. But, yeah, that's how it is. Let's close the channel. Nothing personal, dear Santiago, but planet simply isn't big enough for the 2 of us. I shall ruthlessly crush your so I saw a picture the other day of the Republican Party in Washington, D.C. as they did the first steps to repealing the Cheap Healthcare Act or whatever it's called. And literally the picture of that is just them just laughing. This is literally my response to that. I will derive great pleasure from having you executed. That is so cute. I'm quivering. I'm a little bootsies. Actually, should I turn on? No, I'm not going to turn them on because it may break the game because it is old. There's videos attached to killing of other factions. And basically what you see is them being hogtied in this giant pain distributor. It's rather terrible. It's basically implied that for the rest of time they're just going to be in this room being tortured to death, which is terrifying. As I already said twice back to back. All right, so 3 turns and the UN will fall, which is pretty much what our goal was anyway. Okay, so let's start improving these bases because the Peacekeepers did a terrible job out of improving their bases, which was to be expected anyway. Ooh, yes, let's build a network node. Gene splicing, research hospital, which opens up the road to synthetic fossil fuels, bioengineering, and ecological engineering. This is quite good for Sparta Command right now because the nutrient restrictions lifted can produce +3 nutrients per square. And then you get a little quote from Zarkov saying, the genetic code... Oh, this is actually quite interesting. Yeah, basically, the genes does not specify because genetics is basically chaos, is what it's saying. And there's a little text blurb there as well. Coding into existence genetic materials so that the entire traits from disease resistance to a stable personality can be copied from one organism and transferred into the others. This is what I really, really like about Alpha Centauri. It really plays with these technology and science ideas, at least in the first few texts, that are like, hey, these things that we're talking about, reasonable. And kind of right now on the horizon as we are entering the second half of the second decade of the 21st century. However, this game was built in 1999, and a lot of these texts are really, for me, kind of like striving points. I feel that a lot of scientists have seen some of these things and are like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Kind of like how like the communicator from Star Trek kind of created the mobile phone, or at least the idea behind the mobile phone. I feel that this particular game has really pushed the boundaries of science forward in terms of ideas. All right, cool. Why am I? Oh, I get -1 per square, so only getting -1 for this monolith. That is a problem. I can, however, build a research hospital. It's still minus. It seems to be okay. The hot gates built recycling tanks. Let's build a rec commons there. And we have raised this out of the water. Cool. Let's attack the space. That should bring it down to 1. Let's move in there. Destroys the base. Booyah! We have eradicated the peacekeepers. Brother Lal has been captured and is ready to your personal interrogation. Of all the factions in the game, there is only 3 that I would consider to be doing personal interrogation. That is Yang, that is Space Christians, and Santiago. All the other ones must have been like, dude, seriously, no. Boop! And there we go. We got a little thingy popping up saying, Space UN! Yeah, no longer. And this is part of the video down here. Like, in this little spread thing, something like you would expect in like a BDSM club or something with this sphere around it. And it's like, pain! And then the door closes. Back. And our tower seems to be doing nice. And we got a little plaque. This is most likely at our base somewhere, celebrating our achievements, a monument to science and survival. And that will wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, take good care of yourselves and each other as we're going to go and dive right in. Our next target, our next goal. Maybe put down Yang a notch. Maybe an idea. Or we can go and expand a little bit and go after Morgan. Who knows? Who knows? The sky is the limit. Until next time.